and welcome to 3Q The Artist, the podcast designed to go beyond the typical artist interview by asking three thought-provoking questions in just 15 minutes. I'm your host, Rachel Vogel, and joining me tonight is Kentucky-based rapper E the Prophet. His debut project, E for Effortless, followed by the release of his mixtape, Too Effortless, has received millions of streams in a very short amount of time. He's been featured amongst several of hip-hop's biggest stars on playlists like Most Necessary and New Joints on Spotify, and he's also received critical acclaim from press outlets like Lyrical Lemonade, Early Rising, and Hip Hop DX. While the recognition can be gratifying, what matters most to him is giving back to his community. His talents are a gateway to bringing awareness to those who are often overlooked. So with that said, E, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Are you ready to dive in? I'm going to start with the first question.
I'm ready.
So I've heard many artists say, I am my music and my music is me. What does that statement mean to you?
I feel like music is generally overlooked as an art form, and I feel like art, all good art mimics life. So I feel like that statement kind of just is saying, the music that an artist creates is really something that is like a piece of the artist himself or herself that they're sharing, with that audience. And I feel like people tend to overlook it because music is so often tied in with entertainment. But I feel like with that perspective, you'll be able to understand it.
And how does that statement specifically relate to the music that you've created?
I mean, basically, it sums up everything I just said. Everything that I do musically, I have to be able to organically feel, right? Like I don't like to force things. My music, oftentimes, if it's forced, you can tell. So I try to be as me as possible in the music. And otherwise, it just doesn't work out. It's very much a feeling as much as it is like business or just the process of creating it. It's a lot of emotion tied into it. It's a lot of just decisions that really can show an audience who you are as a person. So I feel like that's really important to take to consideration when making music.
And so when you were starting out, did you always know that rapping is something that you wanted to do? How'd you get into it? You just took a pen to paper one day?
Really, it's funny because I had like a toy piano, and there was like little buttons, and you can play like little default beats that it had on it and stuff like that. And I remember having a tape recorder and a cassette, and I would like play with it for hours and just like record myself rapping. And that was like those were like my early mixtapes. I was like 6 or 7. I was super inspired by like Little Bow Wow at the time because I was like just the thought of being like a kid rapper was super dope to me. But no, it's been kind of something that's been a part of my life as early as I can remember. It's just been music in general, and I feel like hip hop was the first genre that I ever got introduced to. So,
All right, moving right along. Question 2. Today, you are 22 years old. Now, imagine you're 75 and you are being interviewed for a retrospective on your career and your life in general. What would you hope to be able to say about each?
as far as my life, I would hope that I was able to use the time that I've been given, to benefit more than just myself. Because I feel like a lot of times people get caught up in the idea of the work and of the success and the things that you can achieve, and they forget, the reason and the way that they were before they ever, got to where they are. And for me personally, there's been a lot of people that have inspired me in my life. So I feel like the only way to give that back is to be able to inspire others. So I hope that I'm able to do that with both the music and my life.
Okay, and I told you at the beginning this goes pretty fast. So we are already at the last question. So every industry has its dirty little secrets, both positive and negative. What's one secret you would like to share about the music industry?
um, One secret I would like to share about the music industry from the experience that I've gained over the last couple of years, I would say nobody really knows anything, It's kind of crazy because people can speak with as much confidence as they want, on a statement with as much experience as they want on a statement, but at the end of the day, it's all opinion. Nobody really knows what can work, and if anybody guarantees you anything in music, then they're probably lying to you. So like it's all opinion, and you should take that with a grain of salt because like I'm big on taking things that resonate with me. So if it makes sense, then I'll keep it and I'll put it into my long term memory or whatever. But if it doesn't, then I'll just continue the conversation. So I think that's one little secret I think I would share with people that are interested in the music industry or want to be a part of the music industry. It's just, it's all opinion and you have to make it fact. So that's how it
Mhm.
goes.
That's great perspective. Is there any specific situation that has stuck with you where that kind of rings true?
I'd be lying if I say it doesn't happen all the time, you know? There's been times when I'm like and I've a very, like, close-knit circle of people that I go to for opinions when it comes to, like, my music, because I really like to self-validate more than get it from others, and so, like, when I do go to people for an outside opinion on the music, it's funny because, like, I'll show them, like, 4 songs that are gonna be on a tape, and they'll be like, "Yo, I'm just not really feeling it, it's not that good, da 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 da," and then I'll show them, like, the finished product of the tape with the exact same 4 songs, just maybe even in a different order, and they'll be like, "Oh, yeah, this is great," and I'll be like, "Bro, like, 6 months ago, you said you didn't like it,"
Same
you
thing.
know? So yeah, yeah, so, like, it happens all the time, and it's I don't know, I try to recognize patterns and stuff like that, so I peeped it, and it is what it is, you just gotta
Mhm.
learn to live with it, so
So, as we close out tonight's episode, thank you so much for joining us on tonight's. And to our listeners, we are so glad that you joined us. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm sure you enjoyed tonight's episode just as much as I did. So, stay tuned for next week's guest on 3Q the Artist, the podcast that goes beyond the typical artist interview by asking 3 thought provoking questions in just 15 minutes. See you then.